Hello, my name is Female Speaker, and I want to talk to you about women in tech. Now, that introduction may seem a little bit ridiculous, but that's the reality of my everyday. So today, I want to talk to you about the power of tokenism. Not too long ago, an invitation arrived at our office inviting us to speak at an event. There was a full list of male speakers, and at the slot that we were supposed to speak in, it simply read, "Insert female speaker here." Now, that obviously speaks volumes to the obstacles and slights that women in my industry face every single day. But actually, I want to praise this person. Someone looked at that list and took the time to think, I don't know, maybe we should add a woman? And because of that, a woman was added to that panel. We were given a voice. We were given a chance to stand and represent and speak for ourselves. An all-male panel was shifted, and the audience was given a new perspective. And this is the power of tokenism. The reality is that diversity makes sense. It's good for business, it's good for the economy, it's good for us all. It helps improve teamwork, communication, and it also helps us to collaborate. And this is the power of tokenism. Creativity can flourish amongst the nooks and the crannies of working together. And this is why I would say thank you to that person who wrote "Insert female speaker here." Now, if you're thinking about it this way, why do we need diversity? Well, it's quite simple. When we come together, we are forced to think of new ideas, new ways to collaborate, new information. We are taught to face a new thought process. And because of that, we need to come together. And really, this is what helps boost the economy. It's not easy always to come up on stage and talk about diversity and talk about gender, et cetera, et cetera. It can feel like this is an old message just being repeatedly hammered, but it's not. The reality is that in 2017, only 17% of startups have a female founder. Currently, 56% of women leave tech halfway through their careers, after about 10 years or so. We see in the UK, 70% of women with UK STEM qualifications aren't working in those fields. Clearly, there's a problem, and tokenism can help change this. If I want to paraphrase it another way for you, so hopefully you can kind of grasp where I'm going with this, but I think it's pretty obvious from what I've said so far. If you're looking at it in terms of economics, it makes good business sense to add more voices to the mix. It makes good sense to be thinking outside of the box a little. We always hear about innovation, but what do we actually do about it? Innovation is key if we want to diversify in terms of the economy, in terms of the products, and also if you want to make things more efficient. As I said earlier, diversity makes us good teammates, but it also helps improve efficiency, and this is vital. So if I'm looking at the terms of the UK statistics, we notice that there's a huge drop-offs along the way. As I mentioned, within college, but also after about 10 years, women will start to drop off. And later, they're not hitting C-suite. So you're kind of stuck in these execution over creator roles, even if that's not your background. We see that women are unhappy with gender balances, with biases in the workplace, and then there's harrowing tales of sexual harassment. In fact, one study showed that 1 in 3 women are afraid to go into their own workplace. Just think about that for a second. Think about that being that individual who's afraid to go to work. Not necessarily afraid of the work, but afraid to sit with their peers and their colleagues at the table. Tokenism can help to change this because we add more voices to the mix. So clearly, we're working with a flawed model, a model in which one segment of society is repeatedly favored over the other to the detriment of us all. And this is the problem. So what can we do about it? Well, in the US, women hold more undergraduate and graduate degrees than men. Currently, women make up between 70–80% of consumer purchasing, and 90% will take sole ownership of their finances at some point in their lives. We're talking about a powerful market, one that is not being represented, one that is not being listened to, and most vitally, one that does not have its own voice. And tokenism can help be a building block for change. If we were thinking of a product, think you want to say, I don't know, something very mundane, something that we use every day, a razor, for example. If you're designing a razor for women, would you be better off listening to a man about why women will buy this razor, why they want to shave, et cetera, or a woman, the very individual that a product is designed for? Now, not only have they taken their voice into account, but of every single stage, from concept to design to execution to market and beyond, that they were encouraged to get involved in the actual process, encouraged to take leadership roles, encouraged to speak up. Would we get a razor that is shaved with the CGI legs of a hairless model? Probably not. But what we wouldn't get is one that can do its job. It might be shaving a bear, but it'll do its job. So we're not looking at things that are pink. Things being pink is not a USP. We're over that. We've gone beyond that. And what we want is actual diversity in the workplace. So how do we go beyond this? Well, I would suggest allowing people to have their voice heard at the table, allowing your colleagues the space and the room to maneuver when they're asking a question, allowing them to speak up at times of crisis. We need to have a way that everyone can talk, that everyone has their chance to speak, that everyone has their moment to shine, if you will. For the economists among you, adding gender equality makes good business sense. If you're thinking about it this way, we can see that it just adds trillions of dollars to the global GDP. In fact, by encouraging gender equality, we could expect to add an additional 18 trillion US dollars to the GDP by 2025. If we got to a scenario where gender equality was 50-50, that would be an additional $28 trillion. Imagine what could be done with that. Imagine what we could do to advance our society. Imagine all that money that's being wasted right now. From the first round's 10-year project, we saw that 63% of teams with a female founder outperformed those with are solely male. It's clear that diversity makes good business sense. It's clear that tokenism makes good business sense. So what we want to do is look to a future where there are more female voices, where there are more voices of minorities, of trans people, LGBT, people who are disabled, right across the board. It's not just a woman-male issue. It's an issue of humanity. It's an issue that we all need to get behind, and it's an issue that can add money, add value, add common sense to the world that we all live in. In Ireland, we wield a great deal of power, and unlike our colleagues across the sea, we are at the crux of our society. We can do something now to make a huge and powerful shift in the way that people perceive us. Despite our size, we hold enormous weight across a variety of sectors, from pharmaceuticals to the arts, to culture, to science, to tech, you name it. For example, did you know that all the Botox in the world is made in County Mayo? Or that all the Viagra in the world is made in County Cork? We have bargaining chips, people. We have bargaining chips. And we're not using them, so I don't know why. But what I want you to think about today is not just the Viagra and the Botox. While those are important, they're not the sore message that I want you to take away with. What I want you to take away with is the idea that gender equality makes good business sense, and tokenism is a good place to start. So today, I want to thank the person who took the time to think, maybe we should insert female speaker here, because at that time, at that moment in history, a woman mattered. Her voice was represented. It wasn't entire the pale male stale that we always hear. There was a new voice added to the mix, and the culture was shifted. Instead, we heard a new voice rise, and because of that, everyone learned something new. So if you're thinking, well, what can I do? I mean, I don't run panels, I don't host events, I don't do anything, I'm just little old me. That's not true. This is not the reality. The reality is that everyone in this room, everyone in this world has a chance to make an amazing change on the world around them. If you're hosting an event, think of the speaker list. Think carefully, think thoughtfully. Are people being represented or are they not? If you're attending an event, look at the list and say, is this reflective of the society that I want to live in? Is this reflective of the society that I actually live in? Possibly not. If it's not, then say something, do something, tweet, write, do what you have to. But the point is that it's important for us all to stand up and for us all to say something when we see something is out of place. At the moment, we see that gender inequality is rife in our society. So it's as simple as that, a tweet. It used to be 140, but now it's 240 characters. That could be enough to say, hey, I'm sorry, this is not good enough. This is not reflective of where we want to go. And because of that, you can make a difference. So just remember that tokenism makes sense. Tokenism is good for business, and tokenism is good for us all. Thank you.